Why is it that most of us struggle to make a living doing what we love? It's because the skills required to run a profitable business are usually not the same skills that spark the passion in the first place, which leaves most of us feeling overwhelmed, confused, and broke. There is a better way, and this podcast will explore all of the ways that you can create a profitable business that empowers you with time and the financial freedom that you deserve. Welcome to the Ben Herman Show.
All right, in this episode, I've got a special guest, and he's a real special friend of mine. He's actually one of my best friends, so I'm real excited to be able to share a conversation with him, and hopefully he can also spread the knowledge and share that wisdom with you as well. He is an entrepreneur. The way that we met, he was actually a professional musician that traveled all over the States. He's also been a author in a sense, right? You were a professional writer at one point. Right. You're a teacher at one point. Now he's like an empowerment coach as well. We've had so much history, so I'm really excited just to get into this conversation and share that with you guys. Yeah. So first and foremost, man, you want to kind of give some context of what you've been up to lately.
Oh man, I've just been living life, man, trying to provide value wherever I go. But I've been just really focused on producing tons of content for my audience, which is divorced men and people going through heartbreak, which is one of the toughest things in the world to deal with, right? That devastating loss, and just offering value and uplifting content, to help them bring their confidence back and go to a point from surviving to thriving once again in life, right? And so I've been just really pushing that, and that's been great, man, and it's really opened me up and added to my healing journey as well. So,
nice, man. Well, one thing that I have to say is that it's always incredible to be a part of a person's life for longer duration, right? If it's a short-term friendship, right, you kind of get to see a chapter of their full story, right? I got to be a part of multiple chapters, and what's been so incredible with you specifically, man, is how one chapter builds onto the next, which builds onto the next, and so forth, right? So to give you guys some context, James in the past was actually you had a blog website, right? You got involved with Medium.com, where you were actually a professional blogger, pretty much a professional writer, and I think that your teaching career prior to that prepared you for becoming a professional blogger. 100%. And then now this guy's coming out with fire content with his new project, and so it's just one thing compounds on the next, right? Yeah,
the journey, man. It's so beautiful, right? It's you do something for a while, and then it's you almost kind of reach a ceiling, and then we're so blessed to be able to be drawn to evolve, right? And grow into whatever. Sometimes you don't even know what it's going to be until you're in the midst of it, right? Every level has brought me to the next, prepared me for the next, Yeah. Just life in general, just seems to work like that. So, yeah, same with you, man. I mean, it's been an honor watching your journey as well, just starting off as a fly DJ, to becoming this amazing businessman, this father, this leader, and then now, showing other people how to become, successful and be profitable DJs, right?
Right, for sure.
And you mentioned how, with, sometimes you get a small chapter of people's lives. I like to call them a parentheses. And so, we share the parentheses, and I feel like we have an open parentheses, and then we just have this long line, but our parentheses hasn't closed yet.
Yeah.
I hope it never does. But
right, for sure.
I hope it never does, man.
Yep. I'm super grateful for your friendship, man. And this guy has been such a supporter of mine. Really vice versa, right? It's not just one way. And I was a huge fan. Again, this guy was a professional musician, so I was a fan before he even knew about me, right? But then I was lucky enough to strike up a friendship, and man, it's been just incredible. Just how we've been able to support each other along the journey for so long. Well, life's all about ups and downs, right?
Yes.
And so there are some folks that are listening right now, right? And I'd love for you to actually keep it in context and speak to that one person right now, okay? That might be struggling, right? They are still trying to find the answers, and for some reason they feel stuck and they feel like there's no way out. Do you have any sort of context to give around how you may have been there in life and how you've conquered challenges and hardship?
And everyone's different, and we all have different circumstances, different trials and tribulations in our life. But that feeling of feeling stuck, that feeling of feeling like you're not enough is tough. And it seems, and it's so weird because if you really break it down, that's what it comes down to, is like most people, just in my experience with working with people and just working with myself, it really just boils down to not feeling like you're enough. The one thing I will say is, as hard as it is, there's beauty in that struggle. There are gems in that struggle, and sometimes we're not able to see it in the beginning because it's so close.
Yeah.
For me, it was always just a willingness to keep moving, you know? And sometimes there's big steps in a great direction, leaps and bounds, and you learn, you know, even though you're in a hole, you're looking up, you know, if the attitude is there.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's small steps, and those small steps, they count as well, you know? But there's beauty there, and sometimes we just want to get out of it, right? Because nobody likes to be in those kind of situations. But looking back now, I'm so grateful that I had that, because that is what divided time for me. That's what divided life for me. It's like, okay, here's this challenge. So either I could sit, cry about it. Life is kicking my butt right now. And here I am presented with a choice. And then you could choose to go, okay, well, I'm going to keep it moving, you know. And what I will say, probably the most important thing is, and I know everybody's situation is different, but you don't have to do it by yourself. And it is so important to let the people that love you and that care for you, to let them take care of you during those times, you know? And they will show up. And you know what's so cool about that is it's usually a testament of what you've been to them in their lives, you know?
Oh, that's incredible. I like
that.
that.
Which, you know, the times where I've been my lowest, and the people that show up and that got me, and sometimes it could be people you wouldn't even think. Sometimes you think it's going to be certain people because you give them a lot of energy. But sometimes it's people that have just been watching you from a distance, and they appreciate the rawness of your journey, and they show up for you. And it's okay to let them take care of you. It's okay to let them have your back. And that's a testament, because 9 times out of 10, you probably do the same for them if the situation was flipped.
For sure.
So you don't have to do it by yourself.
Okay.
You're presented with a choice. Either you want to stay like this, or you want to keep it moving. And you know, Tom, our friend, who's put on his first marriage retreat this weekend, one of my favorite things that he says, we not only we go through it, but we grow through it. You know.
True.
But it's up to us to make that choice if we want to grow through it. Right.
Yeah,
There's always something to pull from every situation, both good and bad, to help us evolve and move on to the next level of our life, you know.
So what comes to mind here, man, is like you're saying, like, you know, you don't have to do it alone, right? But a lot of us DJs and artists, right, we've got the ego, because we need that ego, actually, right?
We do.
That confidence to rock on stages in front of crowds, right?
100%.
So there's a pro, or that's a strength, but it can also be our weakness, and
Right.
How do you give someone advice around that? How to deal with ego?
Ego is always going to be there unless you're enlightened. It's always going to be there, and that's okay, you know. But just like anything, we have to learn how to use it to our advantage. And so sometimes it's okay to be like, let's do our thing and show that confidence, right? And other times we have to put our ego in check. Be like, you need to take a back seat right now because my well-being is not up to par. You know, and so, you know, I know what it's like to feel alone as an artist, you know, and I started off as a DJ.
Yeah,
actually,
true.
Let me take it back. I started off, my first element to hip hop was breakdancing. We know that story.
Same here. Yeah.
But then my second was DJing. You know, I watched Juice and I was done. So I know what it feels like to feel alone. But again, you need to put yourself in check and put your ego in check and set it to the back burner. And allow for your homies, that's what they were to me back in the day.
Yeah, for sure.
To be there for you, to show up for you, and to speak about it. So really, that, I think, my friend, comes with time, comes with experience. You know, maybe you've gotten through something alone before, and then maybe you've gotten through something tough with people in your corner and supporting you. And then, so the next time you go through something, you're like, okay, now I have this contrast. Now I have a reference. What took longer to get through? Doing it by myself, most likely. You know, what felt better and more empowering, you know, to be able to lean on the people that care for me, right?
Yeah.
So just know that Rome wasn't built in a day, you know? In order for any of us to get better at this crazy thing and navigate this crazy thing called life, it takes practice. And it comes with experience. And then through that experience, we get wisdom, right? And then we apply that wisdom to our lives, and then we also pass it down like we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
So
Another thing that comes to mind right there, and again,
Hopefully
great advice, man, and just like wisdom that you're sharing today. What about those toxic relationships? Because maybe someone is scared to ask for help because they've asked for help before.
Ooh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right. And it could be scary to ask for help. I think we spend a lot of time in our own heads.
Yeah.
So we don't want others to judge us. Or maybe we've portrayed this strong persona out in the world, social media.
Yeah, highlight
right?
reel.
And so we don't want to let people too in, because we don't want to be too vulnerable like that. It's scary, right?
I think it's also a little bit of guilt of like, I don't want to bother someone else with my problems.
Right, like I don't want to be a burden. Like, yeah, great.
Sure.
Like I don't want to be a burden on someone. And I have friends like that, you know?
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to remind them, you're not. Like, honestly, by you opening up and being vulnerable like this, I feel makes our bond and our connection that much stronger.
Absolutely.
You know? And I think we've talked about this before, right? Like when back in the days when you were in school and, you know, you're sitting there and the teacher's explaining some sort of concept. For me, it was usually in mathematics.
Yeah.
I was just like trying to stay under the radar. And the teacher's explaining a concept and you're like, huh? But you're trying not to show like you're like, huh? Right? And then that one kid is like, I don't get it. And then the whole class goes, yeah, I don't get it either. Right? And it was like, it took courage on that one person to be like, I don't get it, because everyone else was feeling that way, and
they're just acting like
and we all do that, right? And I advise we got to get past that. And I think you mentioned, you know, like even if you asked for help before, and if no one has helped when you asked for help, I would probably navigate the way maybe you are asking for help. And I think brutal honesty, radical honesty is usually good. So sometimes we'll ask for help, but like beat around the bush about it nonchalantly, you know? Instead of just being like, brother, I'm struggling. Like I'm going through a tough time, which you and I have been able to do with one another, you know? Because we don't know until we don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah, true.
Until someone is vulnerable enough, you know, to let you know, like, hey, I'm struggling. I'm going through it right now. So I always recommend radical honesty. And when I say that, I'm not saying that some sort of guru that's got this thing down. It's hard, but like anything else, in order to get better at it, it takes practice. But again, you got to be willing to make that change. You know?
Absolutely.
We're gonna get knocked down. You're not always gonna get it right on the first shot, right? But then you have that choice. Well, do I stay here and nothing changes, or do I try again? Right? Just like you in your business, there's been tons of things that haven't worked out for you. Absolutely. And you didn't give up. Yeah, you know, quote unquote, it might be like a fail, but not really, because you figured out a way. Okay, now I know that way doesn't work, you know, so let me try this way. Right? So it's the same thing with life, you know. Absolutely. It's a system, right?
Yeah, it's just like, it reminds me, right, of Edison. Like, 10,000 ways to figure out how light bulb doesn't work, to find that one way that it does work. Right. Yeah.
And oh my gosh, and we're grateful. Imagine he would have gave up, right?
Right? We wouldn't have all these great lights right now in the studio.
Right. Shout out to Edison. No, man, there's no right or wrong way. For me, it's okay. Let's keep on going. Let's keep trying. You know. Because at the end of the day, you're worth it. You're worth it.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks for listening to The Ben Herman Show. We hope you got a ton of value from this episode. Here's a bonus. He who said money can't buy happiness hasn't given enough away. Would you be willing to help someone you've never met if it provided you fulfillment and didn't cost any money? If so, would you please take just 10 seconds to leave an honest review so that someone can make a better informed decision on giving this podcast a chance? Your review could help someone find the answer they have always been searching for and change their life forever. Either way, we hope to catch you on the next episode of The Ben Herman Show.